Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Agile Cool Kids podcast. We are a group of Agile enthusiasts, practitioners and thinkers from many different backgrounds, exploring and having fun. We like to compare, contrast, and discover new ideas and deeper meanings of applying Agile to the future of work and life. And here with me this morning, I have Agnieszka Szymanska. Agnieszka is a people expert and passionate about spreading Agile across different departments and sectors. Hi, Agnieszka.
Hi, Francesca. Glad to be here.
Nice to see you here. Agnieszka is currently living in Germany. And then we have Blaž Erčul. He's based in Slovenia. And he used to work in hearing aid field. And now he's an insight discovery license practitioner and Agile enthusiast as well. Hi, Blaž.
Hello, Francesca. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. And last but not the least, Don Ewart. Don is a senior Agile coach living in the UK and originally from Scotland. Hi, Don.
Hi, Francesca. How are you doing?
Hi, good to see you. And myself, Francesca Rossin. I'm Italian. I live in Germany and I'm an experienced Agile coach. And we're here today to talk about some very cool and interesting topics about coaching and companies. And with a reference to the job market topic that we talked about last time. So what's the real topic today? Shall I introduce it?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So we were just discussing about what might companies need today in relation to coaching. And the initial introduction that I think it's necessary to add is the fact that when people or companies or organizations come up with, oh, I think I need XYZ. Usually in a coaching conversation, this is met by, okay, let's dig deeper. Because usually this is not the main thing that people or organizations or teams actually need. And after digging a little bit deeper, the coach and also the clients figure out that there's something more to that. So it's that something more that we're probably interested in today.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Because people like to solve their problems, right? They want to think about things. So they maybe have a problem or they have a challenge and they then think through, well, this, obviously I need this, but because it's only them thinking, or they haven't had a time to reflect, or they have some biases or unaware of things, then what they're asking for might not be the best solution, or might not be difficult, or might be too difficult, and so that's where a coach can help them understand there are different alternatives, or you've painted yourself into a corner, I can help you get it back out again. Yeah.
That is true. That is
Yeah.
true.
Just getting a bit deeper, not only focusing on the trigger, but what is behind the trigger, and really understanding why it triggers you. So maybe something, let's say metaphorically, like a therapy for the whole company, not for an individual.
I would
Exactly.
go.
I was almost jumping on the topic because it sounds like triggers more from the therapeutical background, and having heard a good few times, why should we provide coaching? If someone needs therapy, they should go and do it privately. It's not something what we should do in the company. So there's, from my experience, a lot of misunderstanding what coaching is on the market.
Absolutely.
Yes.
In my professional experience, I have to say that when I talk to individuals at different levels, so it doesn't matter if I'm talking about leadership or team members, so both individuals and teams, they tend to jump to a solution. They tend to jump to, oh, we need to do this. Yeah, but what is exactly the problem that you're trying to solve? And they can't really define the struggle that they are going through. So after 2, 3, maybe 4 questions, they can describe what is the uncomfortable situation that they're going through, and why this is uncomfortable, why this is not meeting their let's say a lower level of stress in their working life, right? But they cannot get to that immediately. So that's where the coaching questions are coming very useful, at least in my experience. I don't know, what about you?
So yes, I think just on Agnieszka's point there, the difference between therapy and coaching is a good one, you know, and that's still sometimes very mixed understanding in places. But I would also like to think that maybe if people need therapy, then a company can help with that too. It's not just a private thing. But back to Francesca there, I think yeah. Oh, I had a thought there and I've lost it now. There was something about no, it's gone. Sorry. No,
I was
no.
reflecting, like we are like a kind of at least we four know exactly the value and understand the value of coaching. For me, like the next step, it's probably more interesting. How can we sell it to companies? How can we sell it to people they do not have our understanding? And having said that, the misunderstanding I encountered from both sides, customers, they expect calling it coaching therapy when they really need therapy, and then it's kind of a no-go and ethically not responsible to cover this with the name of coaching when the person needs something else, whatever it might be. So it's on both sides. So coaches are not definitely on the market people. They do everything perfectly, and all coaches know what to do. So I see that the needs for better understanding or the misunderstandings definitely are on both sides.
I also think that individual coaching is a great thing, but it's rarely a solution for the whole company because you need to look much further up and even in the company's culture, company's values, to really get the right results and to see what you can do as a coach. If the company cannot adopt a growth mindset, they are not willing to change the things they've been doing the same for years.
Yeah. I think I remember what I was going to say as well, and it chimes in with what you just said there, Blaž, that you know, that growth mindset is very much, I see that mostly as organizations and employees and people remembering that everyone it's a people problem. And like I said, Francesca, when they come with this, we need this solution, they come with a process problem or a new tool or something like a new ruling but actually when you dig down, quite often it's a people problem. It's the relationships, or it's the understanding or the awareness, or it's the being able to talk about challenges properly. That's usually more the things that, and it's maybe I'm reflecting. What I was thinking about was reflecting that because in traditional companies people have been treated like cogs in a machine, then they think of the solutions as part of the machine and the processes, but they don't. And our challenge is to remind people that it's people problems. Does that? But back to your question is what are companies looking for? Just maybe I can add this to the conversation that in the State of Agile report last year, I'm just reading off it here. There was a question: why are organizations going agile? So maybe what's attracting them to do that? And the top three were time to market. So they want to be, faster to market, predictability in a changing world, right? And lower risk. So all three of them are kind of similar, really tied together. So I wonder if coaching and agile coaching, that's what they're asking for. is that what we need to be able to address and show that, yes, if you want time to market, if you want predictability, if you want lower risk, then coaching and agile coaching can help you do that.
Now, I still wonder, so this is very interesting, Don, if these are the three things at the top of that. I didn't remember, to be honest. So thank you for bringing that up.
I can show the screen for a second.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is really what they need, because in my real experience, like in my experience daily with individuals, with teams, with leadership, whenever people come to me and they say, "Oh, this is my problem," like 80% of the times, this is not really their problem. So, and then we dig a bit deeper and we figure out that it's slightly different. So I'm wondering if the three top items are really the ones that you could say, yeah, these are really the things that the companies really need. You know what I mean? Because this is what they
Yes.
say they need, but do they really need those?
Yeah.
Maybe the one thing that would help them is with coaching is just to explain to them or trying to give them some thought so they will adapt that the predictability is really not there in an ever-changing environment. At least in nowadays, who could predict the COVID? Who could predict, other world events that are there that change our day-to-day lives? So I think we have to coach sometimes in a way to know that even if everything is not predictable, everything is okay. And that's the way it is. And that we try to coach them more. How can they respond to changes instead of how can they predict things?
Exactly. Change how to adapt. Yeah, faster, better, more efficient, and not how to predict, because that's just kind of dead end street.
And of course, that takes a change in mindset, change in outlook, a change in beliefs. And is that where coaching then fits in helping people to adopt those new beliefs and, explore that for themselves?
I think that's where it fits in, but that is also where sometimes coaching is excluded. Because if we want to coach them about unpredictable environment, it's very bad for the shareholders who would like to have a predictable profits at the end of the year. And since if we have an economy that focuses on money and numbers, and we are talking about unpredictability, that's why sometimes I think coaching is excluded from the conversation.
I would actually argument exactly the opposite, because if the fact is, and probably everyone in the world agree, that the reality is unpredictable. It's statement, fact, however we want to name it, what everyone can agree on. So the only way how to get what they want, and we in the same time, it means predictable profit. The only way how to get as predictable profit as possible is to quicker adapt to changes. So for me, there's no better way or shortcut or whatsoever than to buffer those changes with how quick can you adapt. And here it's perfectly coaching, agile coaching, growth mindset, the whole psychology stuff, psychological safety, predictability, how you deal with changes, change management, resilience as a huge topic. It's everything about how to bounce back.
I definitely agree, Agnieszka, or I guess that I wouldn't do this job. So absolutely 100% agree. But the thing is that then I can't explain how very, very clever people, and I have the great chance to work with some very clever people, how they still think that we should do things like we've always done them, because those things that we've always done them that way, clearly they're not giving you the results that you expect today. Or you wouldn't claim, you wouldn't say that you need to be faster to market or predictable, or you need to lower the risk. Maybe those things that used to work and they've worked for 15, 20 years in the past, maybe they don't work today because the surrounding circumstances have changed, right? So why I'm still confused, and I'm wondering really, how can those very clever people still think that um they need to change the way things are being done.
Mm.
Also, I would like to make one more point about predictability. And as I said before about the shareholders, I would use a metaphor. Let's say if I'm watching a basketball game, I like to be unpredictable. And even if I'm playing in it, I like to be unpredictable, that I have a chance to win or lose. But if I want to bet on a game, it will be much easier if the score is predictable.
Yes.
And I think that's it. That's where the money comes in.
Hmm.
And that's a nice analogy, yeah. Yeah.
I would challenge the phrasing or the naming clever people. As psychologist, it was just me jumping in immediately, like how you define clever. It's cognitive intelligence, is awareness, is emotional, social, whatsoever intelligence. So
Mhm.
someone who is cognitively very, very advanced, let's call it that way. So he's bringing in a little bit psychological lingo. Prefrontal cortex is working in an amazing way. It doesn't mean this person have other skills or other qualities. And then again, psychological mechanism of echo is, if we consider someone as cognitive intelligence, we attribute all other skills to that person. It's completely normal. It's just a mechanism, but it doesn't make that the person can be the case, but very often isn't the case.
Mhm. Yeah, I see what you mean, Agnieszka. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't know exactly the definition of clever people in that sense. I just, I admire these people for the things that they've done so far, for the things that they are doing every day, for the way they relate to people, for their level of empathy, for their leadership skills. So for me, probably this is like a full package, and that's my personal definition of being clever. And sometimes I don't know, I'm surprised, I guess. Sometimes I'm surprised because these people tend to do things over and over again, even if those actions and those decisions do not give them the expected results.
Yeah.
So maybe, and this is just maybe, I'm not sure if this could answer our initial question, but maybe that's the niche for coaching, right?
Yeah.
So clever people, uh, whatever is your definition of clever, I know that there might be multiple different definitions. But then at some point, these clever people surprise you because they keep doing the same thing over and over, and then maybe finding a way to help them realize, and giving them some sort of awareness that this is probably the part that they cannot deal with by themselves, and maybe they
Yeah.
need a coach there. I don't know. Could that be?
Well, if you think of the story of the cargo cults, right? Those people in the Pacific Islands who built airplanes and airports and radio shacks out of wood and creepers and a thing to hand to entice the American supply planes to land. You know, those were clever people. Those are inventive people. You know, could take, you know, the things around them, just bits of wood and reeds and things, and could make these. That takes intelligence, right? That takes understanding and knowledge to build those things. But it's completely wasted. It's completely useless because their mindset is completely wrong. You know, and so you can be very capable, intelligent, successful people in one realm, but the context changes, and now not. And now it's completely useless now. It's like another analogy might be, you know, car makers, the original car makers in the late 19th century, who built cars by hand out of wood, right? And you know, it would take craft shops of people like blacksmiths almost before craft shop to make, you know, one car a month, and there'd be beautiful, amazing things that cost millions in today's money. If you wanted to do that now, no, you've got to have a robotic factory and a huge marketing campaign, and so those skills are not useful anymore. Things have changed. The world has changed, and what's amazing to me is I don't know where this, maybe this is a deep philosophical conversation about what the second one in the list where was predictability, predicting the future. How can we predict the future? It's so difficult, and it's very often wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and yet people are trying. It's the most difficult thing to do. We can't even predict the weather a few days out, right? Stock markets, you know, many things, you know, so trying to get an answer to predictability, you know, or if we have the formula to predict things, then it'll be, no, that's like the fountain of youth or something. It's not going to happen. But like Agnieszka said, you can have strategies that allow you to operate successfully in a world where things aren't predictable. That seems to be very difficult for people to live with, to understand, to comprehend, and they want to cling to that idea of predictability. So I think that's the you know, as the human species goes through its evolutions, you know, our thinking changes, you know, over the eons. The underlying sort of mindset has changed very much. I think this is another one. We're sort of on the beginning of another one where we should be aware of our world a lot more. We cannot predict things like that, but it doesn't mean to say we can't be successful. It's the wrong strategy that we're following. Yeah, and because it's interesting that 2 and 3 on the list are predictability, trying to predict the future, and lower risk, which really is also predicting the future. You know, if I can stop things from happening, the future will be better. You know, so yeah. But the thing is that's what they're asking for, and we, as coaches, our job might be to help them to persuade them that that's the wrong questions to ask anymore. Right?
I mean, as agile coaches, one of the things that we usually do with teams, with individuals, is to set up a working agreement, and also in this working agreement, at least what I regularly do is to define expectations and also align on those expectations. You can ask whatever you want. You can expect anything you like out of this workshop, but it's my job as a trainer or as a facilitator to tell you that, you know, predictability or fountain of youth or, you know, Midas power, you're not going to get it out of this workshop. So it's, some people call it managing expectations, whatever that is. But yes, this is something that I have to do regularly at the beginning of a working relationship, a workshop, or whatever that is, because this is an illusion anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think maybe we are culturally taught like that. But I read once that a TV station started telling weather in probability, how much percent it would be that it will be raining, and the viewers complained. They said, we don't want probability, we just want the forecast. And that's, I think, something that is happening in companies. They don't want the probability, they want the forecast. And that's why working in sales, we always had to forecast the next month. We had, let's say, the forecast for the next year, what will happen. And there are so many factors that could happen in plus and minus. And yes, we cannot really predict, but I think some people are very calm if they get a number. It doesn't matter if it's correct or not, just that it is a finite number.
I will play a small devil's advocate, because I am all for numbers to predict, but only if it's compared with flexibility and lessons learned. Because I do not see it's doable to have or to run department, company, whatsoever. Okay, we let's face it, we don't know what will happen tomorrow. That's not helpful for the business. So you need to kind of start with something, most likely numbers, and then see what happens, and then evaluate like what we base those numbers on, what we didn't put into the equation. Are we right, wrong? Maybe if the numbers is correct, we still did it per accident. So what we didn't incorporate in that thinking process. So I am all for numbers, and in that sense, predictability.
So maybe it's not. Yeah, numbers are useful tools to as a yardstick, as a measuring. But it's then the next stage is when, oh well, you predicted this and you didn't do that, so there's my problem. Or we only got 90% of what we decided, so that's a failure. Or why didn't we? Right, and it's that thinking then that that somehow when you make predictions, then that's gold standard, and that's what you'll be held to account to. Right?
Absolutely.
That's where estimations become deadlines.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and strict delivery dates, no matter what scope changes there are. Yeah.
Exactly, that's such a typical Agile issue. It's like you estimate, and then it gets set in stone, and then you got punished because you didn't reach its estimation. It's not a goal, it's not a deadline, but that's where what you, Francesca, were talking about, expectation management come in. So you need to teach people every day, almost every hour, it's predictability, and it's not a deadline.
Yes.
And you still will get 2 weeks later why you didn't reach it, and you start the teaching part, educational part again, over and over again.
That is true. That is true. And one of the battles that I regularly face with teams and with individuals, with leadership, is that they have KPIs, right? But KPIs are lagging indicators. They are not really something that will tell you anything about the future. Just because this happened in the past, it does not necessarily mean that it will happen again in the future. However, everything is based on that. Every decision, every status report, everything is based on that KPI. And on top of that, not only they base their future decisions on past results, but they don't challenge the way those past results are measured and what is measured. So is it really something that you need to measure this thing specifically, right? Is it something that brings you value? And what is your definition of value? What is important for you? They don't know how to answer this question.
Yeah.
They don't know.
A classic one is where teams are held to a strict deadline, and they have to deliver on that deadline to get it done. And when they deliver on that deadline, then that's seen as a success. But how is that a success? How have you measured what has happened now
Yes.
that you've measured up on that deadline? You've gone to market with, so okay, how many customers now do you have, or how quicker are you selling things, or how what costs have you saved, or that's very difficult. I know several companies that I've been to where I can elevate their teams to working in Scrum or Agile ways, and they're high performing. And then but one key point I say is right. And now we need to measure the value that's the team is generating, and they get stuck in trying to say, well, how do we measure value? When we deliver things, the value isn't realized until a year later, 2 years later. So yeah, they get stuck with that.
And
It's a funny problem.
It is. And also when you were talking, Don, I was thinking of what are teams actually doing? Because sometimes I realize that they're doing things just because they are in the backlog or they are on a checklist, right? And those things get to be done, right? But not many people know why those things need to be done and what is the result that you expect? What is the outcome that you want to measure after these things are done, right?
Yes, yeah.
And the best way of measuring things, I've never seen it so far, is not only to have the measure of success for that outcome of everything that teams do, but also to reassess and saying, okay, we were very successful according to these outcomes and these measurements. What else did we achieve? Because sometimes you can't possibly predict all the outcomes that you will get, right? I've never seen a team that actually sat down together and said, oh, okay, by the way, we reached these 3 outcomes, so we're successful. Let's celebrate and let's see what else that came out after we did that.
Maybe it's innovations, or maybe it's bringing new people in,
Yeah,
or
maybe
down
just
tech debt.
Yeah, maybe just something unexpected that happened in the process of getting things done, or right after that. Something unexpected happened, maybe, but no team, I've never seen it, at least not yet. No teams is actually writing that down or thinking about it. Because this might be the key to more innovation, the key to a much better way of working together, or I don't know. I don't know what.
That's the point. I want to bring some hope to to our talk, because this is what happened to me and my team, in the sense the company I am working with. We had an event and we defined the success as sales. Very concrete, what we aim for. And in the wrap up after the first day and the second day, and in just a brief lessons learned we did after the event, the biggest success was not that we achieved the number. Yes, of course, celebrating, but the biggest achievement was we didn't achieve any reasonable numbers at the first day. And then we sit down, really like late night, what was great, what didn't work out, and how can we improve for the second day. And that process has been and still is the biggest achievement on that event, that we fixed on the way. We did what we could, we reflected like typical retro and improved, that we were able to catch up from like kind of cover the first day and catch up in the direction of what we put as numbers, what we want to achieve. So yeah, that's the hope element I wanted to bring in our discussion.
And that's amazing. Thank you for that. So as we are getting to the end of this conversation for today, how did we answer the initial question? So if you remember, it was something about what my companies need that is related to coaching. How do we answer this question?
I think there's not a plug-and-play solution. As a coach, you have to be very observant. You have to talk to a lot of people, ask a lot of questions, and not just project your vision of what the company needs to them. So I think as an internal coach, you get to see more things, more dynamics. But as a freelancer, you cannot just offer the plug-and-play solution that is sometimes wanted. Okay, what do you bring to the table? I don't even know what you need. So I think as a coach, you can bring a lot of guidance. You can open many people's eyes if they are willing to be opened.
Nice.
I would say that preparing the value and what I try to sell is that I am able to help people to prepare them so they are able to better cope with the work reality and work tasks.
Nice.
My takeaway will be that I think what you said at the beginning, Francesca, was that often when companies are asking for something, they're actually really needing something else. And I think we saw from Scrum Inc. the 3 things that they're asking for: time to market, predictability, lower risk. That's all sort of it's all that mechanical, just do things better and can we predict the future, so really what they need is that change of attitude, that change of better alignment to the game of being in business, and taking advantage of unpredictability. And so what we need to show them that we can do these things, but we need to also have the conversation of, to get these things takes that change of attitude, that change of mindset, that change of understanding of the new context that you're in. So yeah, I think that's where we're at. But we have to, as coaches, I think we have to tell them, we have to show them that yes, we can help with time to market, predictability, lower risk, but maybe not in the ways that you think.
That is so true. I was just thinking that one of the takeaways of this conversation is that the usual thing that we say about coaches, that we help people through change, I guess that's it. It's about helping people, right? And then predictability, and then time to market, and then all these other things, they will come later. But it's about helping people and helping them through change, which might be a change in mindset, a change in behaviors, in change of even a change in what you think that you need. Maybe that's not what you need, but hey, let me help you. Maybe you figure out something different.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's right.
Thank you for this amazing conversation today. It's always lovely talking to all of you, all of us. It's really, really an amazing conversation. So thank you also for the ones that are listening to us, that they are watching us. Please feel free to leave feedback. We are at the beginning of this journey. So please help us, help you find great topics and great conversations.
And contribute to changes in our format.
Yay!
Changes process.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to have a particular topic discussed, or a technique or a book or anything that they think we should focus on next, we've got lots of topics that we could talk about, and we've got a whole list of them. But if our listeners have something that they particularly want, then let us know.
Thank you for your time, and we'll see you again in the near future.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, friends.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.